This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Oh my goodness. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of The Empty Chair. We are so happy to be back live, to be with Lou, to be here. Like, this is an amazing experience to kick off Recovery Month with an amazing show with these two men that I'm sitting with. It's no makeup night for me, so use your filters at home and add some color to me. But I'm just so grateful and so blessed to be here. September is Recovery Month, and what a great way for the momentum to keep going than to bring you tonight's show. So I just want to say hello. It's been a long summer. I hope everyone enjoyed their summer, and I'm just so excited to be back here. So tonight's show is dedicated to Mark Zaracket and Stephen Gunter. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Stephen?
Yep. Hi, good evening, and thanks for having us. My brother, Stephen Gunter, he was 40 years old when he passed away in 2015 from complications of IV drug use. He wound up succumbing to blood clots. Just very a lot of years of drug use, and tried to save him a few times, but I learned the hard way that someone's got to be ready to save themselves. So unfortunately, we lost him in 2015. So this is dedicated for him.
Thank you. And how about you, buddy?
It's dedicated to my lifelong friend, Mark Zaracket, who was a friend of mine since I was 10 years old, and just a special human being who battled with cocaine addiction his entire adult life, and it robbed the world of a very smart, special, determined, sensitive man, who I know you know, and devastating when he left. But yeah, I dedicate tonight to him.
Thank you, guys. And that's why we do the show. We do it for the addict that didn't know recovery was possible. As always, at the beginning of a show, we just like to keep everyone informed of where overdoses are at this time and what's going on. So in Essex County, from January 1st to date, we have 878 overdoses, with 94 of those being fatal. In the Merrimack Valley alone, from January 1st to date, we have 207 overdoses, with 37 of those being fatal. And then a breakdown of what we call Merrimack Valley. Haverhill had 72 with 8 fatal. Lawrence had 188 with 25 fatal. Methuen 43 with 4 fatal, and North Andover 4 with no one passing away. So these numbers that I read to you folks, these are the reasons why MVPASAP continues to go out there to do the prevention, the education, and the awareness. We'll do anything to decrease the stigma so that individuals can get the help that they all deserve and need. And I don't want to minimize the numbers that I just gave and make it like it's nothing, but I do need to acknowledge we are in Recovery Month, and that's huge, that people do and can recover. So according to the latest United States National Survey on Drug Use, more than 75% of people addicted to alcohol or drugs recover. And also another study by the CDC was that 3 out of 4 people who experience addiction eventually recover. And another estimates that 74% of the total United States adult population, or 20.5 million adults, that they are all in recovery or have recovered from substance use problems. Last night, I hosted an event at the Methuen Police Department, and we had 137 years of recovery in that one room, which was really cool. It was an amazing event to acknowledge recovery and to just show that it does happen. It can happen. I'm sure you guys are thinking like it would never happen to you. Didn't even think of what recovery was, and you are here tonight with me. So recovery is possible, and tonight's going to be an amazing show where you can hear all about it. Also, I always talk about upcoming events. This weekend, we have a huge event. If you didn't get your tickets, I'm sorry. It's sold out quickly. Brandon Novak is coming to Haverhill High School to give his testimony, and opening for him will be an amazing young man, Matt Gannum. who's a poet, like a slam dunk poet. So it's a pretty cool experience. So that's the way we're ending. MVPASAP is ending our recovery month, is by hosting that event. Other events that go on every Monday night, we have the Circle of Hope. It's a family support group hosted by Phil and Fran Leahy. It's at the Methuen Police Department from 6:30 to 8. If you need more information, you can reach out to Phil Leahy. His number is 978-886-2949. And also the first Monday of the month, the CARES department, which is me at the Methuen PD, we host Narcan training from 6 to 6:30, and then we host a resource night. And what the whole goal of the resource night is to bring individuals from local organizations to the police department to speak to the community about what services they offer, so that we can expand our toolbox of where we can reach out to if we have a loved one. This one's pretty huge because we don't have many mental health facilities, and Blue Hills Recovery is coming to speak on Monday evening. Their closest facility is Worcester, which is still fine, and they focus on mental health issues. And so if you want to hear about what Blue Hill offers, come to Methuen Police Department 6:30 on Monday, and you'll learn more about it. And that's really it. We're going to dive right into the show because I can't say enough for these two men here. I adore them. Jimmy I've known all my life, and this Jimmy I met when I came to work. And you both just blow my mind for not only the addiction piece, but also the addiction piece to the food, which absolutely blows my mind to watch you men shrink. Like, I remember when you were shrinking and buying clothes and doing things, and I'm like, so proud of you, and that's determination. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you for being vulnerable and transparent and just sharing. Like, I had so many questions in regards to, like, your addiction. Did your addiction start because of the trauma that you were introduced in your jobs as first responders? You see things that normal people don't see.
Mhm.
And when we do see them, we faint, right? So there's just so much. And then to continue your careers without having a clutch to fall back on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who wants to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Hi, my friend.
Hi. My experience with alcohol started in high school, like a lot do. And hiding at the place there, drinking warm beer that was purchased by one of your older siblings, and not having much control or game when it came to drinking. And till I got later on in life, it seems that employment seems to facilitate that and get you the Sherpas you need to bring you to the top of the mountain when it comes to drinking properly. And unfortunately, I had no problem finding Sherpas that wanted to bring me to the top of the mountain, because apparently I'm a good time when I'm drunk. To everyone else but myself, or the ones who are worried about me and love me. It moved through my career at Raytheon, where I was a union steward. I always seemed to find positions of power, and which facilitated my ability to create my own linear path to exactly what I wanted. This is a selfish disease, and I am a selfish man. And I need to keep that in check, and I need to remember that every day at 24 hours at a shot. It led me through Raytheon and into the arms of a woman from New York who I raised 3 children with, and unfortunately it followed me into my marriage and controlled a lot of what, we had a successful marriage. We had 3 incredible children who were brought up who thankfully don't drink or do drugs. But they saw some situations that they may not have related to alcohol, but my experience with my family was as good as it was. It was less than it could have been if I wasn't drinking as much as I did. I drank to disappear. I would become what I needed to be for whoever needed me. for whatever would put me at the front of the show. And unfortunately, it led me into my first DWI in 2009. And because of the position I'm in, I went through what I needed to go through and really wasn't held as accountable as I should have been, because it's accepted. In the profession that I'm in, it is a rite of passage. The fact that I could drink was a good thing because you were going to need it with the things you were going to see. And quite frankly, we didn't have the setups back then to address the normal psychological aspects of this job. I came from a household that was abused in the Catholic Archdiocese situation, and my situation was exacerbated because of what happened to one of my siblings. And I grew up in a household where when you walked into the room, you had to take account of that room. It wasn't a normal childhood. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't a normal one. When you came into the room, you needed to be able to read that room. So at a very, very early age, I got some skill sets that would use very well as a lieutenant on the fire department, to be able to read a room immediately and know which way is safety and which way is danger. But it costs to live a life like that, always on guard, and alcohol made it easier. It found me to my second DWI, 3 weeks after getting promoted and being on the front page for such a great feat. I was then brought to my knees and humiliated with the fact that I had been caught again drinking and driving on St. Patty's 2013. I was looking at losing my job then. Things weren't fun anymore. It wasn't funny. It was serious. And people wanted my job. Thankfully, I did my job up until that point well. And I was told by the mayor at the time, the reason why we're keeping you and sanctioning you is because the people that came in here didn't even know who you were. They were just part of the gears that turn. And the ones that came in here speaking in favor of trying to keep you actually had experienced one-on-one who you were. So a lot of these addicted people, not unlike our Mark, have incredible skills, are incredibly talented, incredibly sensitive people. They bring in the vibrations of the world at a point where sometimes you need to find a way to escape being everything for everyone. It's been a 10-year journey, maintaining my sobriety and taking this journey. Unfortunately ended my marriage, and it estranged the relationship with what I had with my kids, which was extremely good and close. But this disease wants everything. It wants to take everything from you before you leave. It definitely wants to humiliate you. So I make a conscious choice every day because my job meant so much to me. I promised myself that I would not bend, regardless of what the outcome would be. I would not let this disease take any more from me. And I stopped 10 years ago on St. Patty's, coming up on my 11th year now. And it's just part of my life, you know. And what used to be awkward at parties, and because I was always there at the bar, I was always there at the end of the night, I was always there, always there. And now I'm always reachable. Now I'm someone you can talk to. I may not be the one you want to bring the party to all the time, but I'm the guy that you might want to ride home from. I found that there's a lot more to life that I was missing, unfortunately. And I just found myself fortunate. You know, I could have hopefully have sobered up a little earlier, but everybody takes their journey. Everybody has to take their own journey. It's like a fingerprint. And mine has been for 10 years now. I hope it, today is all I have, and tomorrow I hope we can do it again. And that's my intention. I didn't lose everything like a lot of people do, but I lost half of everything. And I remember my daughter telling me once, when your recompense, when you start to go through the metrics of your past, I would ask my children, did they have anything they wanted to discuss with me now that I am sober? And my daughter assured me that most of the situations were fun. She goes, the only really thing that bothered her was some of the greatest conversations she ever had with her father. He'll never remember.
Mm.
So that'll never happen again. Hopefully. Jim.
You're done? Yeah. All right. That was awesome. I started off back, I am from Wilmington, Delaware. That's where I was born. I'm not from New England originally. Had a very abusive stepfather, psychologically, physically. I had two younger brothers, one that we talked about dedicating the show to. Grew up down in a small town in Delaware. We moved back and forth between Delaware and Maryland. My stepfather had some jobs. Things were good at first, but I started having some abandonment issues when I got into a little bit older years, and started skipping school in high school and started to do the bad things and doing the things you shouldn't do. But I just couldn't take the abuse anymore and looked for a way out, and I saw a recruiter at the high school when I was in school one day, and looked to get away that way. So I joined the military right out of high school, came up to Devens for AIT, and drinking was part of high school. I wouldn't say I was a heavy drinker in high school, but in the Army, that definitely, you talked about opportunities. The Army, I wouldn't say they promoted drinking, but they facilitated it. The military did, and it's a choice that you have to make whether or not. But when you're younger, like you said, Jim, you think you're invincible. You think that there's nothing going to take control of you. Because if you'd have told me when I was younger that I would be an alcoholic someday, I'd have been, there's no way. So with the, joining the military young, I came up to Devens, AIT, wound up meeting my wife, Melanie, who I've been married to just over 34 years now. She stuck with me, and, I think she just gave me just enough rope to, figure it out. And it was time. I'd been through some stuff, and I'll get to that real quick. But so I met her up here when I was stationed in AIT. We got married young, and then went off to Fort Lewis, Washington for a couple of years, and then in Okinawa for a couple of years. Waited to have kids till we came back. And then I used the upbringing, the tough upbringing I had, as a motivation to saying I had abandonment issues. I wanted to be there for my kids. So I got out of the military to when I had my first son, when we got back from Okinawa, Japan. Got a job as a security officer. I remember making $8 an hour. That was in 1995. Yeah. $8 an hour, but it gave me health insurance, I think, after 30 days. So, you do what you got to do. So I use that as fire to, my upbringing, to try to do good in life, try to be a good father, and break the cycle of domestic violence. I wanted to do that. And because, I know that my mom had been through it as well as, her sisters. So that was one of my goals as a parent. So when my kids were younger, I would coach them in sports, and do everything I could with them. Try to, I have two sons, Austin and Jordan. And once they got into high school, work, I think life and some of the childhood trauma came back to start haunting me. And I definitely drank throughout my career in the Army, as well as being on the police department. And it was just accepted. It's how you blew steam off. It's how you, almost like you had a good shift. You earned a right to go out and have a few with the boys. But, it became like almost, for me, it's almost a requirement to be able to escape. And as it became more and more, when the kids got into high school, they had their friends. I'd come home after work, and first thing I do is make a drink or grab a beer. And started off with just the light beers, but then wanted to Boston one time, went to a brewery, and the IPAs tasted so good. I started drinking IPAs instead of the regular beers, and started putting the weight on. And then I started, once I put the weight on, I started eating more and more stuff, and it wasn't the best stuff. And with work too, that didn't help out any. With being a police officer, a lot of times you're eating on the fly. If you don't bring your own food and you say, "Oh, I'm going to try to eat healthy," it never works out that way. It never works out that way. Somebody throws 2 pizzas in the back room, and you're coming back to take a call in the lobby, and next thing you know, you're chomping down 4 slices of pizza. So it's all about, like Jim said, it comes to a point where you have to give yourself enough self-love. You got to have that self-love to know that you're worth fixing yourself. And that's what you're doing. You're fixing yourself. Because you're, out of sorts, maybe off the wrong path for a little while. So I needed a little help. I did an outpatient program to help me get back on the right path. And through support, my wife's family, my in-laws, they showed me what a family was, a family unit was. As well as I had an aunt back. I have an aunt back home that was really, really good to me, and I got to visit her a couple months ago, and it was really nice. Nice to, see that. Because when I go back down to Delaware, even with my wife, my kids, it was such bad memories for me that I just wanted to do what I had to do and get out of there and get out. But, I'm starting to get past that now where, hey, that's part of me. That's where I grew up. And, I still have a lot of family down there that I care about, that cares about me. So things, as you get older, you realize that, life is not, given. You have to enjoy the preciousness of it. So, I believe that, we're a work in progress as human beings, and that's what we have to remember and go back to that level, human being level. Jim's a firefighter, and he's been a great firefighter for his career. I'm a police officer, but we were both human beings before we decided to do this job. But, the job is tough, but, everybody has tough times in their life. Everybody's worst day is their worst day, no matter what it is. And you got to find ways to release the steam. And for me, I needed to find healthy ways to release the steam, not the bad ways that I was doing. And I had way too many bad habits going on. And so I had to slowly but surely change that. And I'll let people know I went keto. I went low carb. I quit drinking. I've been sober for just over 2 years. July of this year was over 2 years. And it means a lot to me to come on the show, and I appreciate you offering that, because at first I was like a little hesitant, but I think that, and I tell this to people that I talk to now that want to talk to me about my recovery, is that you got to want to do it, and that it's I just lost my thought, but it's just being good to each other, being good human beings, and knowing that we're worth our best lives. We are worth our best lives, but we got to give it to ourselves. And I got in my most problems when I was waiting for everything to get better around me. And it's just, you can't do that. You got to make it better for yourself. And it ain't easy. You wake up every day, like you said, and you know that you're going to face the day's task, whatever it may be. But you got to need to try to find some good in every day too, and try to be happy at most times when you can. So, because there are going to be times where you just can't. So
absolutely.
But like I said, you got to find good ways to release the steam. And like he said, the first responder services are really come a long way. Got some work to do, but a few years ago, if I told you I was in therapy, they'd be trying to put me on leave or something. We've come a long way. And we're seeing the change, and I'm glad that that we're able to see it before we retire.
Right.
So
I had the privilege of witnessing you both shrink. Like, combined, you guys lost a person. Combined, you lost 265 pounds, which is unbelievable, right? So I witnessed like how you were doing it in your journey. And was there ever a time where sometimes one addiction will jump to another? And I started this conversation with you earlier, like when you got sober and just said, I'm not drinking, did you find that it became an addiction to lose weight?
Absolutely.
And then at any point during that addiction of losing weight, did you ever want to think of drinking? Because sometimes that can kick that back in.
I think, yeah, to all of the above.
Right.
For your journey through this, mine was, hey man, you're on the front page. You got to stop drinking.
Yeah.
So you have the motivation. Your emotions can motivate you to do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been there before with my first DWI. And then eventually everything goes back to normal.
Yeah.
And I got this.
Yeah.
So this one was thankfully designed by my higher power to make sure that I was driven through the floorboards so that I would absolutely destroy that ego castle I lived in that protected me from any of that. And coming out of that, there's all kinds of feelings. There's anger, there's frustration, there's fear, a lot of fear. And honestly, all the bad, as far as I'm concerned, all the bad feelings you have are just fear dressed up in different clothes.
Absolutely.
That's it. My ego going out, my ego would be just my fear of not being accepted or not being good enough. I'll dress it up in a big angry ego and 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, keep people on their heels. When in fact, I'm just that 8-year-old that's horrified of coming out of his bedroom.
I know.
Is my brother home?
Yeah.
I don't know. But again, yes, the journey was a long journey. And that's when I got to my heaviest. I went from about 270. I put on 100 pounds. I was just, almost 100. I was just shy. I was 368. And I'm a vocalist. And I was playing with a friend of mine at a cookout in an August cookout. And I literally, you get so big and you get so used to being so big that you make adjustments. It's hot. I'm bringing multiple shirts, because I know I'm going to sweat through all of them. And this gentleman, my buddy Scott Latula, knew me back when we used to play in bands, and I wasn't a heavy guy. I was a normal sized human being, and I was happy. And he saw how unhappy I was. I mean, we had a great time playing and singing, and everybody enjoyed us. And that was the first time I openly said to someone, I'm not happy. I'm not happy where I am. I'm not happy being this size. I'm not happy that I got the DWI. I'm not happy about any of this. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I go, I'll tell you, if a hand grenade rolled in, I'd fight you for it, And he goes, that's not good. I go, I would love to sing. I would love to sing with you again. He goes, well, I'm not getting on stage with you that size.
Amen.
And it takes a friend to be able to say that, to put the Twinkie down, Cupcake.
Yeah.
And he just told me, he goes, just find one thing in your world. He goes, obviously you're doing a lot of things consuming that you could change at least one and watch what happens. So I did. I was a coffee fanatic. You take one addiction for the other. If I can't drink, I'm going to drink a ton of coffee. Well, Dunkin' Donuts likes to put 12 sugars in it. I got it with no sugar, extra cream. It was awful.
Yep.
For the first 3 days. And then I kind of got used to tasting the coffee flavor and the cream. Long story short, within 2 months, I was down 4 pant sizes, just stopping the sugar in the coffee.
Amen.
And me, I'm mechanical. You show me which way the screw turns, and I'm good. And I started to implement that into my life slowly. And it was a slow endeavor. And I researched, I did the 23andMe, found out where I actually was from. I have an Irish name, but Scandinavian upbringing. So again, I started to research like I do. If you bought a chainsaw on the side of the road, you'd see if you could find the owner's manual, find out what the mixture is. I found out what my mixture was. And I started to lose 6 pounds every month. And nobody knows it but you, and because you're so big.
Because you ate towards of what you did when you got your 23andMe. We have a phone call though, right? Yeah. All right, we had a phone call, but we're coming back to this. Your headsets are on. Bring it through.
Go ahead, Phil.
Hi, guys. Welcome back, Cole, to the empty chair.
Hi, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, listen, I don't know if you realize, you two guys, how much you're helping us by coming on the show, because one of the biggest stigmas we fight is we try to show that addiction doesn't discriminate. So when you have a police officer and a firefighter come on and share their stories, you know, it might open up the eyes, especially of those who haven't been affected, to know that nobody, you can't escape it if you ignore it. So I commend both of you guys. And Jim G, the firefighter, I'm married to one of the happy hearts, and she's listening to your show.
God bless.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of her,
Shout out to the happy hearts.
yeah, how is she?
All right, guys, keep up the good work.
All right, I'll call you after the show. Love you.
Thanks, Phil.
Bye.
Bye. So go back to 23andMe for a minute.
Yep.
That's that whole thing of what you
Yeah, you
want. So
find
did
out.
you start eating towards what your Scandinavian
what is the
roots were?
What I did was Scandinavian diet 1860,
No shit.
because evolution doesn't change that fast, you
Right.
know, and we screwed everything up in the past century with
Yeah.
all the antibiotics and stuff. So what did a Scandinavian gentleman eat
Yeah.
back then? And sure enough, fish, rooted vegetables. I didn't change everything. I didn't stop eating everything. I just started to add some foods.
Yeah.
And I literally did the math. I took what foods I did love and
Yeah.
I cut them in half.
Yeah.
And I would play a game with myself. The smaller plate, I'd cut the meal in half.
Yeah.
And if I was still hungry 20 minutes after finishing the first plate,
Yeah.
then I'd go eat the second plate. There were plenty of times I'd go and eat the second half, but there were also plenty of times that I'd throw the saran wrap on it and that would become my
Nice.
supper. And I'm sorry, the math is the math. At the end of the day, you did not consume the calories necessary to maintain 370 pounds, sir.
Yeah.
So you are going to lose weight. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Another call?
It's
Put them on
Fran.
through.
Go ahead, Fran.
Hello?
Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I miss you. How are you?
I miss you too. I'm doing really pretty well, I have to say. Thank you. My surgery was a success, and I'm on my way to recovering.
Amen.
God bless.
But I had to call because these two guys, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I sit here and I'm listening to their stories, you guys. And Jim, PD Jim, I didn't even recognize you one time. That's how much how much of a change you were to me. You had to say, Fran, I'm Jim Gunther, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Thank you, Fran. I
So
appreciate it.
what happened? I mean, you unbelievable. I'm so happy for you and you too, Jim, from the fire department. Your stories are very, they just make my heart warm. I just can't say that enough. You've been through a lot, both of you, and you both come out, winners on the other side. And I know how much work that is and how much courage it takes to continue that. So I just want to say good for you guys. I'm pretty proud of you, and you're being on the show, like Phil said, it really does a lot. It says a lot. But Jim, did you go to the show today?
I did not go to the show today. No,
I did. It wasn't the same without you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I didn't go either, but you were supposed to be in the show.
I know. Unfortunately, my schedule didn't coincide with them, but I have got word I will be there for your Christmas extravaganza.
Oh, we should go to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your partner in the show couldn't make it either, so that so don't feel so bad because you probably would not have done that song. But anyway, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, you will see me soon. You know what? I'm sorry I missed it, but I love being missed.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure they all miss you. They all go crazy over you when they find out you're coming.
Thank
Oh
you.
my God, so fun.
My fan club.
But,
Yes.
but anyway, you keep going the way you're going, both of you, and I'm really proud to say I know you, and I know how hard you've worked to get to where you are. So,
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran.
Love you.
Appreciate
I'll call you
it.
tomorrow. Well, I'll call you guys one
Love
after
you.
the show. Love you.
love you too.
All right.
Bye,
Get
Cole.
better. Bye-bye. Fran had rotator cuff surgery.
I had that. That's tough,
Yeah, and it's tougher than
Yeah.
what she
Yeah.
thought. So
Yeah.
she's been in my prayers, and I haven't called her because, it Which Scott? Hey, Scotty Andrews. My comment was for Jim G, but we don't see your comment, Scotty. So hold on. And good to see you, brother. There you go, Jim. I'm proud of you and grateful. Keep fighting the good fight. What's funny, Scott Andrews, is their both initials are G. So which one knows them?
You? Scotty Andrews. I know Scotty Andrews.
There you go. Well,
Yeah.
that's for you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yes. All right. So the Scandinavian, the 18, eating right, losing weight.
That's it. It's simple. And again, just like drinking, it's simple.
Yep.
But this disease, the tip of the iceberg, could be food, it could be booze, it could be sex, it could be hard drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be abusive behavior, it could be dominating your girlfriend's children, whatever it is. It's the diseased mind.
Yep.
How it manifests itself. Just know that if you stop drinking, this thing wants to own you.
Yep.
And it is part of you. Ignoring it is not an option.
Yep.
It would rather you ignore it because this wants you isolated. I found myself, I would work, I would do everything I had to do for the outside patina of my existence. We were the Garrity's, and we looked like every normal family should be, with 3 incredible kids, because they were, with an incredible mother, because she was, because a father that worked his fanny off, and he was a respected firefighter, because I was. But behind that was a man who couldn't reconcile with his past, lived within it. It controlled who he was in the present. It made him fearful of the future. And the one thing that gave me my small windows of opportunity not to feel that way was when I was drunk at any level. I mean, you didn't have to get polluted, but unfortunately that's where you end up. And I would come home, and you would think you'd come home to that beautiful family. Well, I wouldn't. I'd go right into the garage, and I would continue to drink alone. That's when I would trick myself into believing this is where we'll get the good bourbon, because I would buy the real expensive stuff to drink by myself. And you create these delusions until your dog is licking your face and you're almost half frozen to the concrete floor. And you realize that God sent your wife down to let the dog out. And the dog came over because she still loves you and doesn't want you to die of exposure. And this is where this disease wants you. It wants you humiliated. It wants you at the top so they can drag you back down. And it will show itself in any way, shape, or form. So when I stopped drinking, I became an eating machine. And, if there was 5 Boston creams left at the end of the night on my way home from working, then we need to give those poor orphans a home. And that was right in my belly.
Get in my belly.
And again, back when I was drinking, you can't eat when you're drinking because that messes up your buzz. So you'll wait. And I was on first name basis with the guy at the Chinese restaurant and the woman who worked nights at McDonald's, because that was the only thing that was open. And plenty of mornings I'd wake up with half a mouthful of Big Mac or, some Chinese food, or the kids would come and find it all on the island and be like, oh, Dad was out last night. And it's funny until it's not, and again, now I can kind of chuckle at it because it's 10 years away from it, but this thing wanted me dead. And now that I'm far enough away from it, I do everything in my power to protect myself. I do everything in my power to add a little bit of a different outlook to somebody who might be talking the same way I did, knowing that you're worth this, man. You're worth this, young lady. You're worth exploring that. It's not a joke. It doesn't love you. It doesn't want anything for you but to own you and destroy you, because someone else wants you to shine, and they can't have that happen. It honestly is. If there's a true evil on earth, no better one than addiction.
I agree.
Because if the devil is addiction, he's in a recliner with a drink of his own, laughing, watching us all hang ourselves.
I know.
So, like Phil said, having us come forward as officers of the state, we are. 600 years ago, we would have been noblemen. We would have been on white steeds. And I tell all the guys that at work, they think I'm out of my mind, but it's like,
You are.
you can't forget that.
Right.
This is how people see you.
Yeah.
We can lose that side of who we have been chosen to be.
Yeah.
You know, we are very, very blessed to be able to be chosen to be able to be our brother's keeper.
Yeah.
And who else would this disease want to destroy but people like us, right? It wants to destroy everyone, especially the ones that might make a difference. So the idea that you called to come on here, again, it doesn't surprise me as I move through this journey how often I'm called. And I remember it's not me. I'm nothing more than a conduit. That's it. I made myself available. I didn't invent this cure. I'm just experiencing it, and I'm blessed by it, and I'm ready to share it with anybody who wants to hear it. But I'm not going to force it down anybody's throat, because you have to accept this on your own, and you're worth it. Know that. You can be anything you want to be to somebody. Try being something to yourself. Try being your own advocate. You know, try doing something that's good for you.
Yes. So you brought up the whole where you work, right? Do your coworkers support your decisions and what you're doing, right? Is one thing. Do you folks have your own private meetings? Are there others like you that will not say, oh, I can't let people know I'm sober, I'm an officer, or I'm a firefighter? Do you come across any
I've
of
talked
that?
to several people who have, problems, and that's different departments as well.
Yeah.
I went to the academy with a lot of different departments, and I stay in touch with a bunch of them. And a lot of them, I think you have to get to a certain point in recovery to be able to share your story, I guess, because I've been pretty private, and that's how I recovered, because I just let everything come into me. I was like a sponge sucking all the bad in. Social media, the news, there was some, stuff going on in the country, with police, and I would let that stuff be a burden to me. And another thing I had to work on is sometimes you have to not let everybody else's burden be your burden, because it'll wear you down. And I just wanted to touch back to real quick about the addiction part. When I stopped drinking, I went to the gym, hired a trainer, but my addiction was still there. So I would leave the trainer at the gym in the morning and go right to McDonald's to the drive-thru and pick up a couple of sandwiches, a couple of hash browns, and a large orange juice, because I wasn't really drinking the coffee too much then. But it's replacing. You're just moving on until you got to change those bad habits with the healthy habits. That's how it worked for me. And slowly but surely, it took a while. I'm about 4 years into the process for me as far as slowing down on the eating and starting to work out. But I still fell off the wagon here and there after I went to the outpatient program, because we are human beings still, but and I remember the isolation part of it. That's what I did for years after my kids got into high school. I would work the day shift, come home, and make a drink and go right to my den and start watching TV. And what I was doing was escaping. I was escaping my mind, my day, and that was how I chose to relax, and what I thought I had to do, relax. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I switched to like straight vodka, and that's really when I really started getting close to the cliff. And my wife started seeing some signs of pre-diabetes after I started putting the weight on, and that's not a healthy situation to be in for anyone. So I just had to slowly but surely know that I had to change those habits, the bad habits daily with the better habits, and slowly but surely did it. And I'll never forget when my wife says that the alcohol was my mistress, and it took many years from me and my family. And you're right, Jim. We did do a good job raising our families, and the best we could, but we could have done a better job. But you know what? It's who we are today because of that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. How are your sons with you? Like, what's your relationship with them?
They're good. They're good, and I've had the same conversations with my children as far as how bad do they remember? And my older one remembers more of how I was than my younger one. But all in all, I think that breaking the cycle of generational domestic violence and them having no more of my background now too.
Yeah.
You know, and they understood it, but I have a great relationship with both of them.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fantastic.
No, and you know, the bottom line is they're good human beings, and that's
Yeah.
that's all that matters, really.
They are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I've been witnessing you on your journey because obviously I work with you.
Yes.
I was one of the first people you came and told that you weren't drinking anymore, and
Yep.
I'd give you a little
You were very supportive. Very
tokens
supportive.
and stuff
Yep.
like that on different things. And then I also saw you battle the inner demons which caused your drinking.
Mhm.
And one of the big things you got into was hiking.
Yes.
And you would go alone and
Yes.
and to do some soul searching. So what was that like? Like what made you say, "Oh, I'm going to go do that"? Like
Well,
how'd you get
the-
introduced to it?
The walking part of it was just that new daily habit to try to get to healthier daily habit from taking away from
Huh?
when I got home from work, instead of going right to the cupboard to get the vodka bottle to make the drink,
Huh?
go for a walk, you know. And I started really enjoying that. I started going to Canosa Lake and walking that
Yeah.
on a regular basis. I wasn't going to the gym then. This is prior to going to the gym.
Yeah.
And then really got into that, got into hiking with the wife some. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We went and traveled to the White Mountains. Originally, again, I'm not from here, but I really enjoy this area, and I consider
It is
myself
beautiful.
you
A
know,
New
a
Englander.
resident, a New Englander now. I just can't get the
Nice.
accent. I just can't do it.
Keep
then-
your R's.
But the hiking part of it for me is there's 48 4,000 footers up in New Hampshire. I started those last year, and just a goal of mine was to be able to hike a mountain again when I was that heavy, because I didn't think I was going to do it. There was a time, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, where I didn't think I was going to make my retirement age. You know, and
Wow.
I thought that I was just going to, wasn't, you know, suicidal per se, but I just didn't, I was just going to drink myself to death. That's where
Right.
I was in life. And it's just no way to feel.
No.
But the hiking part for me now is I got married at 18,
Yeah.
turned 18 in the military. You know, really don't know, didn't really get to do a lot of soul searching from myself when I was a child. I really don't think I got to know who I was because of what I
I'll
dealt
put
with.
the picture of you
And-
up.
And
For those of you who didn't get to see, this is his befores and afters. And I know this one is the one that I think was your turning point. Can you see that, Lou?
Yeah.
My buddy over there lost a person. And then Mr. Garrity. If you didn't see these on, I just had to find the lens.
Yeah. Almost death by donut.
You know, both of you are just remarkable human beings, remarkable to be here again, to end the stigma that's attached to this. Like you said, people would like, you can't talk about it. And here you are, and you're putting your hands out there. Plus, you see things way before us. So you can even start the conversation when you're arriving at the house, you know?
It's fair. It's a fearful decision.
Yeah.
If I knew when I was drinking a ton of whiskey.
Yeah.
And that was my choice because I knew it would get me there quick. I didn't
Right.
want to waste time.
Yeah.
I would drink whiskey.
Yeah.
And researching my family, doing the 23andMe, but researching my family, we're 8th generation. My father's family were whalers.
So I have to
in
say
Nantucket.
something. My family, we all pinky packed not to do it because we're afraid to find out we have other siblings. Because my father was such a player. Like I had 6, but now I have 9, and we're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I hear you saying what you're saying, it makes me want to do it. Like
Yeah.
I know I'm Lithuanian, but I want to know like how much, what else, you know?
Exactly. But then you'll have the formula for who you are. I
Yeah.
mean, we're all machines
Yeah.
with souls inside.
Yes.
And those machines have different makeups.
Yeah.
And what somebody eats from the Sudan, they're not going to be eating it up in Sweden.
Right.
And if that's what your ancestors were used to, chances are that's what your body's used to. So
Yeah.
they didn't have McDonald's. They didn't have Krispy Kreme. They didn't have Funny Bones or Devil Dogs. They didn't have roast beef sandwiches like that, covered 3 sides with sauce, mayo, and cheese. No,
Yeah.
they ate to sustain.
Yes.
And their calorie intake was such, and their burn off rate was such that they stayed lean.
Yeah.
And that's what the body's supposed to be.
I agree.
To be able to move and do the things you need to do. And again, our life expectancy getting more and more. It's if we got to stick around here into our 70s and 80s
Yeah.
at 300 pounds, I was like, this is not going to be a fun ride.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that grandpa. I want to be the one that gets on the ride. I don't want to be sitting on the bench with all the packages.
Yeah.
And I got 3 kids that are ready to get married and make me a grandpa. So I'm hoping the good Lord keeps me around for a while. So
Amen.
I get to experience maybe some of the things I wasn't, able to absorb back when I was too drunk with my own precious ones. But
You do remember I was Christian's first girlfriend, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Our friend Mark,
Yes.
who his mother would babysit my firstborn, and Mark was your love, and so you got to experience my children. I got some pretty cool kids, Christian,
You have amazing
Megan,
children.
and Daniel.
Amazing children.
They're fantastic. And that's another thing. That's another bonus is when the people who genuinely love you, like you say, you're quiet about doing this because first of all, you're fearful of failing.
Yeah.
Everyone's fearful of failing.
Yeah.
And
What are the people going to think?
The worst thing you can do is, hey, guess what I did yesterday? I stopped drinking. Now, like you said, he goes, I told you I had stopped for 10 years. And you're like, well, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to do this is let it be a surprise to everyone else as you move through it day by day and not living in the past the way that I did, not marinating in it and and when I would get those difficult thoughts, again, I'm a mechanical person. I need tools and that's what I was missing. And getting with people who could give me the tools, 12-step or just little life hacks for drunks on how to keep yourself healthy. And knowing that when it gets overwhelming, that if the option of drinking isn't there, isolation on the side of a mountain, absorbing the world around you, not somewhere where nobody can see you in the dark, where your darkest thoughts can start to take control of you. Start to treat yourself better. You're worth it.
Amen. Amen. That's powerful stuff. So if anyone wants to call in to speak to these guys, the number is 978-659-0072. And then we just got people saying stuff to you individual. So I just want to let you know. Kathy Brian, I don't know if you remember my Kathy Brian, but my BFF forever. Beth Blazonis, I love you. Hello, Helen. Fran Leahy, Phil Leahy. Great testimonies from the both of you. Find the good in every day. Jim at PD, you're an amazing man. I'm so happy for you and your family. Scotty Andrews, I'm proud of you and grateful for you. Keep fighting the good fight. Fran Leahy, domestic violence is a lifetime issue that needs to be worked on every day, and that is so true. Kathy Brian, thank you for your amazing shares. Jim the fireman, you are admired. You looked at your life and had the courage to change. Keep the singing career going. You're good at it. Scotty, my comment was for Jim G, which is hysterical because you're both Jim G's, but we figured it out. Joanne sending some love. Nancy Reardon, I'm so proud of you, Jim Gunter. You're certainly an inspiration to so many who are fighting the fight. You once said to me that your wife stood by your side and gave you an ultimatum and you chose your family. Both you deserve so much credit for changing your lives. Christy Town is sending some love. Nancy Reardon, I have many not so flattering of Gunter pictures. Oh, good Lord. And Lori, thank you for being courageous and sharing your story. Shine a light on it and break the stigma. Scotty, again, thank you for sharing, guys. I'm glad I tuned in tonight. And Melody Gunter, woohoo! So proud of you both, Jimmy and Diana Teal. Thank you for all that you do. And Joanne, amazing testimonies to begin the new season of the Empty Chair. And I agree. So we're coming down to the ending of our show. So if someone is listening tonight and they're struggling, they don't know what to do, whether it be any addiction, food, drugs, sex, men, women, scratch tickets, lottery, whatever. What would you tell someone who's listening tonight at home, maybe sitting back with that bourbon crying and not knowing what to do? What would you tell them to do?
First off, that it's not the way they have to live. You can, like I talked about, that's not your best life. And you can live your best life, and you don't have to do it alone. There's so much help out there. There's so many people willing to talk to you. And sometimes just talking will help you. But know that you got to give yourself the self-love, and you can get through it. Because I'll tell you, if you told me 4 years ago that I was going a day without drinking, I'd have told you there's no way. There is no way. I need it to survive like oxygen. I need it every day. That's how I survive. So if I can do it, honestly, anybody can do it. I was, so I think that you just got to have enough self-love and wake up with the self-love, gratitude, wake up with gratitude, and you get the help you need. You got to you can't do it alone. You got to get help.
Speaking of gratitude, he inspires us every morning at roll call with reading something that is so inspirational, because that's how he sheds his light on our department, which is pretty
Stay
cool.
healthy, man.
Yeah, no, I when I was a shift lieutenant, I definitely would end roll call every shift with a quote, a positive quote. And sometimes some people would make jokes of it here and there, but I've had many a times people come to me afterwards or text me, say, hey, can you forward that to me? I really needed that today. And no, absolutely. And like I said, if I get in this, like I said, get the help you need, because you're worth it. And you got to give yourself the best life. You can't escape. And that's what you do when you're doing that. You're escaping something. Treat the issue and get to your best life, because, I'm having a great time, and I can't wait to live another 50 years. People ask me, what's your goals? To get a little bit better every day. That's my goal, and try to live as long as I can, healthy, and enjoy this life. And if you can't help someone, try not to hurt them.
That's
be good to each other. Yeah. And Cole, I'd like to thank you, because I work with you every day, and I see the amazing work you do. So you're amazing yourself. So we appreciate having you at the PD.
Thank you. I was saved to serve, not saved to sit, people. Amen.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that's listening tonight, crying, not knowing what to do? How do you get started?
Feelings aren't fact.
Amen.
Okay. Just because you're feeling a certain way, it's going to change. And you don't need alcohol to do it. You don't need drugs to do it. You don't need the abusive behavior to yourself and the people you love to do it. What you got to be is scared, and that's okay. How you combat that is by being courageous. Be courageous for yourself. Find somebody in your world that you can talk to. Even if you have to go and find a clinical person to do that, start somewhere. This disease wants you alone. It wants you isolated. It doesn't want anybody else in your world. So by no better word for it, outing yourself and expressing that you are maybe lonely, you're upset, you're angry, you're sad, you're contemptuous, whatever it is, it's not right. You don't feel right. Address it. Get the tools you need to feel better, because we're all leaving. This is a layover.
Yeah.
We are not staying here.
Amen.
And there's a very small window of opportunity to do what you were sent here to do. And whether you realize it or not, you were sent here to take care of everybody else, not you. But it's going to take you taking care of yourself to get that done. So best of luck to anyone. If they want to reach out, if they ever want to talk to me, I'm at the fire station. I can be reached through you. Again, just have the guts to do what's right for you and save yourself.
Amen. Well, thank you both for your service, for what you do for your work, and thank you for kicking off my first show of Recovery Month. To show combined, we have 35, 45, 46, 47 years of recovery on the show tonight, to be a true testimony that recovery does work. You can do it one day at a time. And thank you for everyone that tuned in tonight, for these gentlemen. And we're so happy. We're kind of doing things a little bit different this year. We're going to do a few here. We're going to do a few on TV as well this year. And we're going to be bringing in audiences. Just trying out a little things, trying to figure out what folks want to hear, what you folks want to see, and just make it work, because this show is it's about you folks out there. It's how can we serve you? So thank you, Lou. I am so glad to be home with you. I love you and I miss you. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
tuning in tonight. And if you didn't catch the show, it'll be on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google, and as always, our Facebook page. So if no one told you they loved you today, I love you. And love yourself enough just to not drink just one day and then the next day and then the next. So until next time, I see you all. Good night and God bless. And thank you again.
Thank you, Cole.
Thank you.